Okay, I feel like this would be good.
Okay, let's move. I'm so excited for you. We have so much cool stuff going on. I can't wait to get into this.
I know, I'm excited. I haven't been on like an in-person podcast before.
Oh, yes. It's gonna be the first one. Don't let us forget to see the pictures.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we'll have to like, let's do something fun. We could set up, we could attach that and do like a timer picture or something. So we could
with the light, yeah. Alright. Just be, I've used these before. The little button on the bottom.
Yeah.
Alright. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of InModeration. Today I have with me my friend Jaeda.
Hey guys.
So a quick little story about how Jaeda and I met. We kind of have a cool way of meeting. So my group last semester had this team challenge, and our challenge was to create a business that generated revenue within 5 days, and we had to do it on campus. So my group decided to take headshots in the lobby of College of Business, and Jaeda happened to walk by and get her headshot taken. And we got to talking, and we ended up both being in the entrepreneurship program at school. So we were able to stay connected through that. We did a fun little pitch together. And yeah, so here we are. So
such a fun time. I love when we have candid experiences, meeting people that you stay connected with.
Yeah, we didn't have to force it. We kind of just bumped into each other. So before we get into anything, tell us who you are, what you're up to, and fill us in on anything you feel like you need to start off with.
Sounds good. So hey guys, my name is Jaeda. By my social media, most people know me as Jaeda Sky. Sky's my middle name. So all my social media is Jaeda_Sky, which is usually how I guess I brand myself and my name. I'm a senior at James Madison University. My major is a little bit complicated and a little weird. It's called Independent Scholars. So it's basically a create your own major program, where if JMU doesn't have the right combination of major that you want, you can submit different proposals to basically create your own.
Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. I found it sophomore year. So I started off as health science and then switched to kinesiology and then found Independent Scholars.
Okay, that's so cool.
Which was actually really funny. I found Independent Scholars also through a very serendipity moment, we'll call it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite word. I was getting a massage at UREC. I have chronic neck issues, and so I massages always help. And I was getting a massage, and the front desk worker was also a student at JMU, and we started talking. And obviously, the first thing you ask someone oh, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your major?
Yeah.
So when she said Independent Scholars, I was oh, I've never heard of that. So then she started telling me about that, and I was that actually sounds so interesting. Could I get some more information? And she wrote down just on a Post-it note her professor's information, and I reached out to them and switched my major.
So what have you created to be what are you doing now?
So my major is a combination of physical therapy, business, and media. So
very cool.
My major is called Independent Scholars, and then I'll have minors in pre-physical therapy, business, and media. Technically it's British media because I studied abroad in London, and I did part of the coursework for the media minor in London, and then came back to JMU and finished it.
That's so cool. Yep. What was it like studying abroad?
It was amazing. So amazing. I wish I could just snap my fingers and be back there right now.
How long were you there?
So I was there for 3 months. It was the whole semester. I took 5 classes. Most of them were SMAD, which is our school of media. And then I did an internship too. So I did an internship at a fashion PR firm.
That's so
which
cool.
was super cool. So I split my week between classes. Well, actually, I had classes almost every day, and then I had my internship 3 days a week. 2 days were half the day, and 1 day was full day.
Oh my gosh! How did you have time to explore and do other things?
I made sure there was time. I definitely am a person who makes things happen, fits in things where I need them. So it was a lot of doing schoolwork ahead of time and kind of balancing both the internship with schoolwork. There were a couple times that I got really cool opportunities through my internship. I got to help run a fashion show during London Fashion Week.
Wow.
Which was amazing, but I had to figure out I had classes that day. And so it wound up being a lot of writing essays beforehand, and some of the outings that we would go on, I went on by myself like beforehand, and a lot of like coordinating with the professors to kind of do work beforehand so that I could miss class on the actual day that we're supposed to have it, and go to the fashion show.
That's really cool.
Which is so cool.
Did you find that your professors were like understanding of what you were doing?
Yeah, honestly, our professors were amazing. I think especially like, it's not like I'm making some excuse up to like miss class. It was like a very valid, like super cool opportunity that they knew was a really good opportunity. So they were really happy to be flexible and work with me, especially like, seeing like a motivated student that like I was proposing doing all the work beforehand, not asking for an extension to go after. So I think they kind of liked that, and it was great. Like all the professors were just totally amazing there, and like really great connections. And a lot of them, like we had a professor that would fly in to teach us, like literally fly in from Lithuania to London to teach us. Wow. So it was really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So coming then after your abroad trip back here, when was this trip? Like what year?
This was last fall.
Last fall.
So I'm getting all the Snapchat memories, a year ago today, the whole semester, that's all I've been seeing. So we left, let me think, I think September. So it was September, October, November, and then we came back early December.
Okay.
So I was here last semester in the spring, and then this is my first like fall back here, I guess, fall semester back.
Did you do all 4 years at JMU?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure.
Which I'm thinking about next semester doing another study abroad.
Where would you go?
Antwerp in Belgium.
Awesome.
I'm finished. So I added a business minor for part of my major, and I've done most part of the classes for the business minor, and then they just added a minor program to finish the minor in Antwerp. So I saved some of the classes to hopefully potentially do that next semester there. Hopefully, as long as they run the program.
Yeah.
That should be the plan.
Do you have any connections still from your trip to London from people over there?
Yeah, I do. It was really great. So actually over summer, that was the last break we just had, right? Yeah, summer. So my internship, when it was my first day as an intern there, it was another girl's last day as an intern there. And so my first day, she was kind of like put in charge of like giving me the lowdown and being like, this is how you do everything. So then we wound up grabbing lunch that day, and we just kind of like instantly connected and like became friends. And so I hung out with her, even though we were only at the PR firm one day. The whole semester together, we like hung out and got lunch and kept up our connection throughout the time I was in London. And then she's in like a marketing media type grad school in London. Her whole story is like really interesting.
Yeah.
But she's in a grad school in London, and for a trip over the summer for her grad school, they went to New York. And so she texted me and she was like, hey, any chance like you'll be in New York or like can come to New York like when I'm there? And I was like, I am totally making that work. Like I have family in New York and I love New York and I'm always there anyway. And so overlapped the dates and went and met her and her friend down there and gave them a tour around New York and got to hang out with them.
That's awesome.
So it was just super cool.
That's
like
so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So super cool. Just like connections like that. And then the PR firm I was at was a fashion PR firm. And so they had fashion brands as clients, and then the people that they would like work with were celebrities, influencers, and stylists. Those were the three like people, I don't know, divisions of people they would work with. So when they would come in, a lot of times I was in charge of like showing them the showroom. And so I wound up kind of becoming friends and getting close to some of them. So there's some of them that I still keep in contact with like over social media. And some of them I actually gave, a lot of them were really, really great on Instagram, but like needed some TikTok advice, especially for someone, I guess in like my generation. And so I had given some lessons to some of them. And so now like keeping up with what they're doing and still like giving them some advice. And so it's really cool, like those kind of connections. And I only knew one girl going into abroad that I, studied abroad with, but became friends with everyone there. And now back at JMU, I hang out with them all the time. So lots of translation from London to the US.
That's so cool. I'm so happy you had an experience like that because that sounds so amazing.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend it.
Keeping that in mind. I traveled this summer too, and it was like the best thing.
Where did you go?
I went to Italy with my family, and then I flew over to Germany, and I stayed with a friend of mine who I
Oh,
met
so cool.
I met her sophomore year of high school. She came and she stayed with my best friend in high school for a couple weeks, and we always stayed in touch. And it was so cool because like when I went there, we really didn't see each other that much when she was over here because they were so busy with their own stuff. But then going over there 6 years later, we clicked as if like our relationship just like didn't.
That's so sweet.
It was the coolest thing ever. And now I'm like, I want to go everywhere. I want to meet so many new people because it's so cool.
Having those connections are amazing. When I was over there, we had a foreign exchange student in high school that came from Switzerland to stay with, and he stayed with one of my best friends in high school, and so we all became close. And when he was leaving to go back to Switzerland, I remember him saying like, "Oh, if you're ever like in the area or like in that kind of Europe region, like let me know, like please come visit."
Yeah.
And so then when I knew I was studying abroad there, I had reached out to him and I was like, "I think it's come." I was like, "I think I'm gonna be in your area." And so then we set it up, and he was super sweet and like took off work. And so then me and a bunch of my friends from London, we all went over to Switzerland and got to spend the weekend with him, and
That's
had our own
so
personal
cool.
Swiss tour guide. So it was just having those connections are so amazing,
It
and just like
is.
knowing people all over the world is just so beneficial and
Yeah,
like a great relationship to have.
it's amazing. So now now you're here and you've been here for it's your full year back. What are you doing now? How has your life changed in that past year? Were you doing all the stuff you're doing on social media and with influencing before that trip? And how did your trip like affect that?
So I mean, totally enhanced it. It was really, really great. Like just different opportunities. I met different, people in different kind of parts of the world over there that were doing similar things, and as similar as it is, like everyone has their own niche. Actually, some of the people that I still keep in contact with, there was a coffee shop within the first week of getting there. I reached out to some places and found some places that I'd want to do some like coffee shop stuff with collaborations with. And so, or cafe collaborations. I was like trying to think of the right word. I was like, I have a name for it. So I'd reached out to this one place and wound up doing a cafe collaboration with them within a couple of days of being in London, which was amazing. And they wound up being like my strongest like connection there. And they just moved their coffee shop to just a different area in London. And she had reached out to me and actually asked if I could come stop by. And I'm like, yeah, I'm
Sure,
like, hopefully, let me just hop on the plane real quick. Yeah, I'm like, I want to pay for my flight. I'll fly on out in 2 seconds. Drop of a pen. I'll go right over. So that was really cool. So different. I did a lot of working with coffee shops and whatnot. And if you want, I can introduce like how I started.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Please do.
I was like, I realized I was like, I'm just gonna jump right into it.
What did you do before you got into influencing? And then like, how did you start to get into it?
Okay, so I'll start from square one, I guess.
Yes, please.
So I want to say it was after high school, but before college, kind of in the like weird COVID transition era. I've always been a big like coffee shop, like not even coffee. Everyone thinks that like I'm some like caffeine addicted, like 20 cups of coffee a day. Like I literally like don't even think I drink 1 cup of coffee a day. Like honestly, caffeine makes me feel sick. Like I don't even drink the caffeine for the caffeine. It's more like the aesthetic of it and like the idea of it. And I've always just loved coffee shops and just the atmosphere. I think I'm a really like positive, bubbly person, and I just feel like coffee shops are very upbeat and happy, and no one's like looking sad walking into a coffee shop. Like you know what I mean? Like everyone's always so nice and friendly and wants to talk to you. And I think I had a weird thing like growing up about like dark restaurants would like freak me out. I don't know why. I like really bright natural light kind of thing, and I just always associated that with coffee shops, I guess. And so as I was in high school, and then kind of once COVID was getting less lockdowny and like things started opening a little bit, I would go to just coffee shops all the time, and like that would be, I guess, my source of entertainment. I live between Baltimore and DC, so DC is about 45 minutes from me, so I would drive into DC and Baltimore a lot just to try out new coffee shops. And I started posting about it on my social media, not really for any like reason or like intent behind it, just because I liked doing it. And then slowly people just started reaching out to me. Friends that I knew that had followed me, or just like new followers, would DM me and ask me if I had coffee shop recommendations. They were like, hey, I'm going to be in Maryland for the day. I'm going to be in Baltimore for the day. I'm going to be in DC for the day. I'm going to be in New York for the week. Where do you recommend getting coffee? Like, you always know the
Oh.
best spots. So I was like, I started making a list in my note sheet of all my recommendations based off of what location you were in. And then I kind of thought about it and I was like, this is something that I feel like I could turn into something. So then I started reaching out to places and asked them if I could come in and create some content, like literally just in exchange for a latte or a sandwich or a pastry, a croissant,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like no payment, just exchange for free food. And I said I would create content to post both on my own social media, as well as I could give you some of the content for you to post on yours. And then the third thing that I would do is I would say that I'd also add it to my list of recommendations, because I get a lot of questions where I'd recommend going.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you get so many no's for however many yeses, and eventually, you start getting more yeses and less no's, and, kind of starts flipping eventually. Um, so I started doing that and just absolutely loved it. Was just so, so happy doing
Mm-hmm.
that. And then, you start off with the free food, and then slowly started being, then other places started reaching out to me and asking, and then I started charging, and then you start slowly charging more.
Mm-hmm.
And then turn it into that. So that's kind of how that started. And then freshman year, I I didn't have a great freshman year to start out with. I was very homesick. I wasn't used to being away from home. I'm a very social person, and so COVID wasn't, and like I didn't really have closure from senior year, and I
No.
loved high school.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a very weird transition.
Mm-hmm.
So I wound up having a lot of dining dollars to spend, um, as one does freshman year.
Right.
And so conveniently, there was a Starbucks truck outside of my freshman year dorm. And so my excitement, like I would wake up in the morning excited to go do this. I would try a new Starbucks drink basically every day. Um, and people are like, you're gonna go broke from this. I'm like, nope, actually it's my dining dollars. I'm like,
already paid
I'm
for.
so nervous and sick to my stomach from being homesick. I don't want to eat anything, but drinking the coffee, that was fine with me. So I would try a new drink, and I started this series on my TikTok called Starbs of the Day, where I would try to do Starbucks drink every day, or basically every other day. Um, and I would review it, and I didn't really have much intention behind it except for this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day Starbucks reached out to me on TikTok and asked if they could use one of my Starbs of the Day TikTok videos on their TikTok channel. And so, obviously I'm just staring at my phone. Like I'm just sitting there and staring at my phone. And I'm like, Starbucks reached out to me and wants to use one of my videos.
That is
like crazy. And I think that was almost the
crazy.
turning point of like,
Yeah.
okay, this is cool. I like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I had during quarantine, like I made like some avocado toast videos that like got a couple million views, and like that was really cool. It was
Yeah.
more just like cool, not like, oh, this is like what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I got a little bit of like the taste of like what it feels like when a video does well. And then when Starbucks reached out to me, I was like, this is just crazy. Like this is so cool. So of course I was like, heck yeah, take my video.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, probably should have like charged them or something, but like you don't say you don't say no to Starbucks. When Starbucks asks you run,
you say yes.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was kind of how that started. And then after that, a lot of people were like, oh my God, I saw your video and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then people started reaching out to me in the same way people had asked for coffee shop recommendations, with people are still asking me for. Started turning over to what do you recommend I get at Starbucks. People would be texting me throughout the day. They'd be like, oh my God, I'm in line at Starbucks right now. I have 2 minutes. Like, what do I order? And I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, okay, go. And then I started keeping a list in my notes app of all the Starbucks drinks I tried and rating them, so then I could send it to people when they asked me. And so then I guess that was kind of like the coffee drink side of things. And then it kind of just morphed over to like naturally flowed into clothing brands started reaching out. And so when I would do those cafe collaborations where I'd go into the coffee shops to get content, I would wear the clothing, jewelry, makeup, skincare, whatever that like brands were sending me.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just like PR or like gifted exchanging at first. And then obviously slowly transformed into paying and paid collaborations and whatnot. So, and it was really nice because coffee shops and, apparel or jewelry or whatnot, like they're not competing with each other. Like they're different, not target audiences, but like segment,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like a coffee
Yeah.
shop's not going to feel threatened if I'm promoting someone's clothes in their coffee shop.
Right.
So it was a really great just overlap. I get pictures for the clothing company in these coffee
Mm-hmm.
shops, which they love the vibes of coffee shops too. Like, that's so trendy now. So it kind of just worked out. It went hand in hand. So that's kind of how that started. And then I started doing some consulting with brands and had brands reaching out to me about their social media strategy and content calendars and what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. So kind of just like different segments, I guess, of all social media, consulting, content creation, influencing, all of it.
That is so cool. It's cool that it all just like kind of naturally flowed together, and it's something that you clearly like to do and you're very good at.
Thanks.
So that's really awesome. Do you see this like being something that you want to continue to do? And like how do you see it like growing and changing as you continue to grow?
So it's interesting. I feel like I get this question a lot. Like people are just like, so what do you want to do with it? So I feel like that's the big question, like in the industry. Like, is it sustainable for you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you making enough money doing it? Are you enjoying it enough? Um, and I think I've kind of had different perspectives as I've done it. I think at first it was like, oh, this is just fun. Like, why not? And then it started turning into, I like this a lot more. And this is like now my job,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Like, while I'm in school, some people have a job at the library. I have a job on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think it just kind of slowly turned into my passion that I didn't totally realize I could stick with like after college or make a career out of. Um, my plan basically my whole life has been to go to physical therapy school after JMU. And basically this past summer, I realized this probably not happening and
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something definitely more media related. But I still, with my major, it's like a combination major. So the best way I can kind of give an example of it is this past summer, I worked at a physical therapy chain, a really big sports physical therapy, like rehab, really cool athletes they worked with. But I was their content creator. So I was working with physical therapists and, like having a knowledge in
Mm-hmm.
PT was really useful, but I was doing the content and I was working with their media agency to just do all things content and media with them. So that was like kind of the best way I could explain combining it.
Mm-hmm.
I think down the line, like starting my own media agency, or I don't know if it's a thing, like a content agency, but maybe I'll start it
You can
to be a
start
thing.
anything nowadays.
So I feel
Honestly,
like,
there's
yeah,
always new jobs. That's really, really cool.
so I feel like that's kind of but yeah, I want to keep doing it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think I recently realized that like I can do it after college and like the, learning curve and, you start off charging this much and now you're charging that much and you're like, wow, that is just crazy cool and
Yeah.
exciting.
That's awesome.
And it's like, I feel like every time, how many packages do I receive a week? Like so many. But every time I get one,
I want a package.
every time I get one, it's like the level of excitement like shoots up. Like it's like that, what is it, like serotonin rush? Like every time, like the serotonin hasn't dipped. Like every time, it just is like.
That's so cool. I'm so happy for you. So how, before becoming an influencer and like having this be your full-time job, like how does the way that you have to balance your time and like the things you do throughout the day, how has that changed since becoming an influencer?
I think I'm pretty lucky because one of my strengths has definitely always been time management.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always just been good at time management. I think I probably inherited that from my mom. I think I've gotten really good strengths from both my parents. But I definitely think like time management has been a really big factor of being able to like do everything that I want to do. And I think having that drive to accomplish everything that I want to accomplish and fit everything in that I want to fit, and just prioritize, I think is like a really good lesson that I guess I have built upon like over my college career and just like starting with the whole like influencing content creation stuff. So kind of prioritizing what matters to me. And sophomore year, I spent a lot of time. I lived in my sorority house, which was definitely an experience. Um, but a lot of times I felt like I had different interests than other people did. I'm not a big part. I always say that like I'm not like a typical college student.
Mm-hmm.
When I guess you think of like what that would be. I don't, love going out, and I'm not into like drinking and all that kind of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times that couple hour period where everyone in the house would be out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, whatever, would be my time to film and edit and record, and get everything done. So then, the next day I'd be able to, start over and have it time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I like used those couple hours for something else, I wouldn't have had the time to, like maybe I would have made the time, like if that was something that was important to me. But I think I prioritized, the social media stuff because I had such a passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, some of those nights are doing homework and essays way beforehand. So then I could go to that coffee shop straight from class to go film because I had already done the assignment that was due tonight. So I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, I always kind of give the example to like, if you're waiting in line for coffee and, we all know how long that carrier line took in
Oh
Starbucks.
my God.
Like, I mean, I think 10 minutes is underplaying it.
Yeah.
But in that 10 minutes waiting there, I mean, I could go through my entire inbox, email 15 brands, post this, post that, submit this. Like, I would get done in that 10 minutes what the person in front of me was like just scrolling on Instagram that whole time,
Right.
or like texting a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Which I also like don't want to say like, I don't want to seem like I'm like, oh, you have to like use every minute to like be productive and whatnot. Like you have to do what's important to you. But I think like those little minutes, I would just pack in as much as possible. Like, I mean, walking to class at what takes you 10, 15 minutes, I would have reached out to however many brands, I would have looked over however many contracts, like, just fitting in here and there. And I feel like that's the time management thing. And I think not being a procrastinator, I think like also helps. Like I feel like it stresses me out. I guess a reverse procrastinator, like it stresses me out not getting started.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know there's a brand that like I want to reach out to, I feel like my mind is like on a loop until I like push send. So I feel like that's, I guess it could be problematic at some point if you're getting, I feel like sometimes I stretch myself a little too thin, but I think there's also a lot of pros that come out of that.
That's awesome. How do you know when it's time to like just give yourself some time?
Um, I think you just kind of know. I mean, I'm totally like a huge advocate for therapy and like mental health stuff. And I think it's really great to be open about that. And I think, people used to whisper cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, oh, they have cancer. Like,
Yeah.
matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one day, mental health issues will not be whispered about, and it'll just be like, I think even now, like it's slowly starting to like shift, which I think is great. Like, I mean, I've had a therapist. I had like bullying issues in elementary school, and I started seeing my guidance counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I would see someone at Hopkins, basically my whole life. And going into college, I would Zoom with my therapist at home freshman year. And I think just being able to like talk about that and having those kind of skills to like realize when maybe you're stretching yourself too thin, or honestly even just things bubbling up inside of you. Like I'm someone who doesn't want to like inconvenience other people. Like I feel like I can like fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then having that non-biased outlet to like go talk to a therapist and like just, like part of my issue, I had to realize that like I'd always feel bad that I was talking too much. Like I'd want to be like, okay, your turn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, the therapist is not there to tell you about their problems,
Right.
So I think like getting over that, like they're here for you. You're paying them to listen to you and like talk you through things, and like they're 100% on your side. Like there's no like reason they would be against you. Like the only things that they're there for is to benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like those kind of, techniques, like learning in therapy and just talk therapy, and learning yourself how when you need a break. Or I mean, my massages that got me into my major, like those massages, I would schedule for myself once a month, and I would that's something that I would look forward to, and I'd schedule when I was gonna come home, and that would be something to look forward to. Um, so I guess just little techniques like making sure you know when you need to step back and take a break, but
Yeah.
also I feel like I love what I'm doing so much with like social media stuff, and I feel like I'm doing it 24/7, 365 days kind of thing, but like I love it and I enjoy
Yeah.
it. It's not like someone's sticking
Like
me
a
in a
chore.
physics lab or
Yeah.
something and they're
Yeah.
like, do this the rest of your life, and I'm dreading it, you know?
Right.
So
That's awesome.
yeah. Hopefully that
Okay.
answered what you were asking.
Totally answered. Just paying attention to yourself, tuning into those things, and giving time. So before we go, I just have one more question for you.
Okay.
If you could go back and tell freshman year Jaeda something that you know now, what would you tell her?
This is a funny one because I was literally just thinking about this the other day. I w- you're gonna laugh. Well, you're into fitness stuff, so you'll like this. I wish I started a jump rope club.
Oh my gosh. It's not too late.
Yeah, I know. My freshman year and sophomore, well, freshman year was COVID, but I still asked them when I toured JMU. I talked to UREC and I was like, I want to start a jump rope club, or I want to teach a jump rope class,
Yeah.
and they were not very supportive about it, to put it simple. And I have tried multiple times since. I think it just there was one person that I guess I could say I've done competitive jump rope my whole life since second grade. So from second grade to senior year, I went to Worlds in Norway for a world competition. So that was cool. So that's basically been
cool.
my whole life. I've done competitive jump rope. That's my sport, but obviously it's not a big thing at most colleges. Like they don't have a team. Certain colleges do have a team, but not JMU. There was a senior that was a jumper that I knew from competitions when I was a freshman.
Mhm.
And we had talked about like potentially doing something together when I got there. And then COVID hit. So then that kind of put a wrench in that a little bit. And then when she graduated, there was no one else that at JMU who had, had the background in that. So I kind of, like I kind of just transitioned to just doing it on my own at UREC or when I had time, and I would go home back to Maryland to help staff like festivals or workshops, and going back to this spreading thin thing. I was like, I don't know if I have time to dedicate all my energy into this.
Right.
I guess I wish that, I mean, who knows, like if UREC really would, like I really pushed and I don't know if it was happening.
Mhm.
So I think that honestly would have been really cool. And I think that would have been a really cool way to like, whenever I talk about it to other people now, in college it's such a transition because I used to like get made fun of and bullied whatnot in like middle school and stuff for it, and it wasn't a thing that I liked sharing at all. I did everything I could to not share it, and then when it comes up in college, it's like such a mindset shift of like people thinking it's really cool, and I've never really experienced people like looking at it positively on the outside.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that could have been a really cool thing to do. So I feel like that is something that I guess I'm talking about, like regrets I've had, like doing more with either a club or being able to teach a class or something, whether or not I would have been able to. I mean, I feel like if I put a lot of effort into it, set my mind to it, like I could have done something.
Mhm.
And then I guess the other thing is just not caring as much and like more internally caring. Like I feel like I put so
Mhm.
much pressure on myself to try to be the normal college student, but then I think like sophomore into junior year, I kind of realized like being comfortable with this is what I enjoy, and if it's something different than what you enjoy, that's okay, and I don't have to enjoy what everyone else is doing.
Mhm.
And I feel like being confident in that, and I feel like that's something that I would like tell other people too, especially
Yeah.
like people coming into college, that like do what you want to do, and like people are always like you'll find someone that likes doing what you like doing, but if you don't, you can do it on your own too.
Yeah.
Like you can make the experience what you want to make it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Jaeda, thank you so much for making time to do this
Of
with me.
course.
This was
Thanks
so
for
fun.
asking.
Everybody else, thank you so much for listening. Keep practicing all things balance, and we'll talk to you next time on In Moderation.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, that was so fun. Yay. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I was like talking like too long of sentences.
No, that was perfect. I love Everyone always is like, sorry, I was talking so much. Like, that's the point. Like,
No, that's
I
why
wanna
I
hear
feel like you
about
tell
you.
yourself, like, that's the, like, and I'm like, hopefully it's just